So we start the general aviation industry, and then we'll move on to. So will you be at the Paris issue?
Yeah, I'm going
You're
there.
going there. Okay. So starting with the aviation industry, which has undergone many challenges, like economic slowdown and all. So how do you look at the sector? Like, can we expect it on the revival mode?
See, you are right. Last 2 years at least have been pretty bad. A lot of fiscal constraints. A couple of airlines went out of business also. Last year, number of domestic passengers has in fact declined. So, but if you look at the bigger picture, the middle class we have, the growth in all the bad times world over, still GDP is growing about 6%.
Yes.
So we think in this sector will grow in the long run, and I believe that's why the Etihad has tied up with Jet, and I'm sure AirAsia also believes in this story, and that's why they are coming here.
Okay. So, will the foreign collaborations help Indian airlines and boosting the civil aviation in India?
See, this is a very complicated business, airline business. So the foreign airlines have the management depth, they have the technical expertise. So it should help the Indian aviation also.
Okay. And if AirAsia is coming up with low cost, so
So we already have Indigo and SpiceJet. They are both low cost, so is Go Air. And in fact, that distinction is what you can say is full service and the low cost, yeah. But many airlines like Jet has both,
yes.
and what we are planning for Air India is a hybrid system.
Okay.
So it will be low cost as well as full service.
Okay. So this will revive the market.
Well, today, in fact, last 4 5 years now, the low cost carriers have 60 70% of the business, and particularly in Indian market where as I said, middle class is growing, GDP is growing, but still our penetration of the civil aviation is very low. If you look at the trips taken per capita, it's much lower than China, USA, Australia, any country. So we really the low cost is the way to go.
Okay. And what are the prospects or possibilities of growth in the civil aviation? Like one of
See,
the
civil aviation sector now people are beginning to realize is not just a playground of the elite or just for travel. It's a very vital sector for economic growth. This Delhi airport that contributes about 15% to Delhi's GDP. So you set up an airport, the hotels come up, the travelers, business opens up, and that helps so many other sectors of economy. And hospitality industry, which if I'd say civil aviation is part of that, that's the largest, biggest employer today.
So we are talking about airport infrastructure. So how do you look at the PPP mode and like already four airports are under the private sector?
Yes. See, the number of airports we are projecting in the next plan to build, the capital required, we will need foreign capital for that.
Okay.
So all the airports, even the smaller ones, now we are open for PPP mode.
Okay. So are you looking at regional connectivity?
The focus is basically connectivity now. Regional, you call it the tier 2, tier 3 cities,
Hmm.
because there is a lot of connection between the metros and all that now.
Yes.
And so we have to look at that how we make airlines fly to these places. We don't want to mandate them. We just want to make it commercially viable for them. And in fact, only last week we had a meeting, and we are trying to see how to go about it. One thing is we have decided is that how can we cut the costs at the smaller towns airport.
Okay.
So the plan is that we waive off the landing charges, the security fee, the navigation fees, and we also want to request state governments to have no taxes on that land, airport land and anything.
Okay.
So,
And one of the burdens on the market is high cost of ATF.
in fact, that's the biggest problem Indian aviation has, and the state governments levy up to 30% tax on it. And this ATF accounts for up to 50% of the operation cost. That's the single biggest factor in their costs.
So are airlines forming cartels, or what is the government doing in this? In
No,
terms
the
of
problem is in today's fiscal environment, it's becoming difficult for the states to waive off that revenue. Although if you look at the overall revenue, this accounts hardly about 3,000 or 4,000 crores out of thousands of crores of revenue they have from sales tax. But and we have talked to many state governments, and we have asked them to see that this will only, if they cut down the taxes, their traffic will grow. So overall revenue may not even decline. But well, it will take time.
it will take.
Yes.
Okay. And like in 12th five-year plan, the government envisages an investment of $12 billion. So, how do you look at the PPP as development of airports, and
That's
where
what
will
I'm saying, that what we are envisaging for next plan, we will need foreign investment in this sector. Otherwise, the government or even the local investment will not suffice if you want to build that many airports. And not only small tier 3, tier 4 cities. Now, there are, a lot of cities are coming up. They are growing. In fact, we have identified so many cities based on the population and economic growth potential. We need to build, I believe, even more airports than what this plan envisages.
so what is the role of AI in that?
Well, airport authority is basically the vehicle which does that. Even if you have PPP mode, they have that process and all that. So
Like recently, the terminals have launched at Kolkata and Chennai, and
yes,
AI
yes,
has great role to play there.
naturally,
And
yeah.
four are already in the private sector. So how will both work together, like private and
No, these two are in public sector, but we are planning to talk to the state governments if we can get them in the PPP mode and have management contracts with the operators. So let's see. And then there are many other airports like Ahmedabad, and we have identified another 9 and 10, which have to be upgraded. And there also we would look for participation of private investment.
what do you have to say on the delay of Navi Mumbai airport?
Navi Mumbai Airport, I think, I don't see is coming up in the near future. It's likely to be delayed further because the land problems are there, acquisition of land there. And it's going to be very costly to not only to acquire that land and to make it level and all that. But Santa Cruz Airport certainly is not going to be able to handle the traffic that Bombay will have another few years later. So as an interim, we are planning to that Juhu Airport. If it has some problems. The kind of problems are that they have to get environment clearance, and the runway has to be expanded, and then it has to be expanded over the sea. If that comes about, and the smaller planes traffic can be diverted from Santa Cruz, then I think that will increase the capacity of Santa Cruz much more. See, the plane, whether it's small or big, takes the same time on the runway, takeoff and landing. So if smaller planes, which are 5 to 20 passengers, same number of planes are replaced in Santa Cruz with those 320s or 737s or bigger planes, which have 150 to 250 passengers. It's a great capacity should increase.
So traffic congestion is a
Yeah.
big problem.
In that case, I think Santa Cruz will be able to accommodate the growth and traffic there for another few years.
And for traffic congestion, there is a Gagan project which is likely to become in June.
Yeah, it should be. I think our plan is to implement it, part of it in this year and next year. Yeah.
So will it
And India
reduce?
is one of the few countries which is there that should cut down the fuel costs, the travel time, and also now recently there is a problem about sharing the airspace with the defense. And we have formed a committee that it can be shared so that they work on it. And there are some constraints, certain time periods, defense airspace you can't use. But if you coordinate with them, we have estimated just the big 7 city pairs, it's thousands of kilograms of that carbon
Yeah.
will also be saved, and it will save the fuel and cut the travel time.
And what's the government doing for air cargo sector, like perishables or cold rooms at the
Air
airport?
cargo sector, yeah, must say hasn't grown as we had envisaged. Part of the problem is the slowing down of the world economy.
Yes.
Not only India, I mean worldwide, the economic growth has slowed down, and the EU problem you all know about. So, but let's see, it has to grow.
So can we see more cold rooms or at the airport or
No, basically, I don't think and some big cities we are planning to have separate cargo terminals or even cargo airport, but mostly it should be accommodated by the existing runways and airport. In fact, a lot of cargo moves through the same planes, the regular passenger planes.
in the
Uh,
belly zone?
yeah, in the belly only. And in fact, that move that Air India has made and Jet has also made, that from 22 kilograms cut down the weight 15 kilograms. That should help in that also. And Indian passengers tend to carry a lot of weight. So they whenever they go, they plan for a lot of contingencies and parties and hiking or traveling, whatever. So they'll have to be more careful how they pack.
Okay. And do you think India has the potential to become MRO hub?
Government has taken some steps towards it. With the Airbus and Boeing both say that China and India are going to be the biggest market for the airplanes. And not only MRO, India should have travel hubs also. But we got a little late getting into that business. We didn't have any airport up to 2, 3 years ago, which could be considered as a hub. But now that Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, they could become hubs or regional hubs. And MRO, the costs are high here. Most airlines send their planes to even Singapore or Sri Lanka, besides Gulf countries. But recently the government has given some concessions in tax and how they can be set up here. And when Air India bought planes from Boeing and Airbus, they did have agreement that they will set up hubs here. So Air India's hub is that Boeing MRO is coming up at Nagpur. Yeah. With Airbus, things haven't started yet. So I'm looking forward when we go to France for this show. We plan to discuss it not with only Airbus, with the ministry also.
Can we see can we see 380 to come soon?
380, problem we have is of infrastructure. 380 has so many passengers. If they land at that point, our security and our ground handling will be tied up with them. I don't think any other plane could take off or land at that time. That's one problem. Second thing is, in some countries, in bilaterals, we have number of flights. Now, if they move to 380, then with the same number of flights, the passenger seat number will go up tremendously. So Only one or two airports here are capable of handling 380 here. So we are looking at it. If we can find, discuss it with the airport authority and the dial and mile, that if they can find a time slot where these planes could land here, but that would require a lot of coordination with the other airlines also.
Okay. And for security, government is working for dedicated civil aviation security force.
Yeah, we have made that proposal to the cabinet, and CISF has been doing it, and they are doing a good job. But the fact is that CISF was created mostly for industrial security, petroleum depots and coal and industry. So this is an entirely different game, aviation. So, and then CISF has the costs are high because when they depute CISF battalions, they are cooks and barbers and everything, because they used to go to remote places mostly. And not so with perimeter security, it's okay, but when you handle the passengers at these airports, they have to have a different attitude. You don't need a gunslinging security guy there. You need a guy very firm, of course, because security is a big issue, but very polite also.
And is ministry working on bilateral policies? Bilateral policies.
Well, we have bilaterals with I don't know how many countries, many countries. With the USA, we have open sky, and as the need comes, we keep increasing we discuss with them and increase the bilateral rights. But currently, see, if you are talking about Gulf countries, in last year and a half, we have allotted about 81,000 seats to Indian carriers. We have not given any new seats to foreign carriers. So now if you look at the seats allotted, we are about the same to the Indian carriers, not just in the rights, but the allocation. But Indian carriers are still not using that 81,000 seats. They don't have the capacity. Now they have Indigo, SpiceJet. They are all going for more planes. So let's hope they can fill up that thing. Once they use all that allotted seats, and most foreign countries have already used up their rights, then we'll look at it again.
So which is the criteria? Like seats
Criteria
or
is that if we allot 10,000 seats, they get 10,000, then our carriers should also be able to use that many. That's the general criteria, but then many times you have to discuss things and deviate from that also.
Now, Indian aviation currently is at the 9th position, and there's a forecast that it will be third highest in some years.
We have a huge number of people, you know that.
So, is this target realistic?
Why not? Yes, yes. I think last few months we get the feeling that we are back on the growth path. It's just a feeling now. You can't probably can't substantiate it with the numbers.
So, how do you go from 9th to third position? What are the plans?
As I said, our penetration of civil aviation is very low here now. If you look at trips per capita and the plans that we have, number of airports we are planning to open, and number of these now, Jet-Etihad deal, the AirAsia coming here, so the capacity should also grow, and with that competition would grow. So let's hope it will be good for the passengers.
And then now coming to Paris Air Show, what exactly would you like to see at the show?
Watch the show.
Any particular plans?
No, not really. Except that, see, as I mentioned to you, we have to discuss that with Airbus and with the ministry also there. So, and obviously, when you go there, all the industry and all the other airlines and all that, there's a lot of interchange of information takes place.
Thanks.
Thank you.